She ain't gave me the green light. Now it's time to take flight. Let's go. Go, go.
Cause I'm out the ordinary. 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 Out the ordinary.
Alright, y'all. X off the beat.
Welcome to SOULutions, where men come out the shadows to testify, giving tips in manhood, honor the codes of integrity, and give out real solutions for soul survival. Today, we have on the show a conqueror, a warrior, a man who uses his mind and his body and soul to fortify his strengths to move forward in life. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Doli.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sheem, and appreciate the invitation and looking forward to exploring some of these discussion topics that you have.
Are you ready to drop these gems and answer these questions today?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. What person did you meet or see that gave you the drive towards the man you are today? Who or what defined you?
I would say one of the most influential people in my life was a gentleman named Ariel. So he was my college guidance counselor at the University of Pittsburgh. So at that time, I was kind of struggling, trying to figure out my way, what I wanted to do in life, what I was going to accomplish as far as going to university, and was I there just ticking the box, or was I really trying to water my intellectual garden, as they say, right? So he really dropped gems on me throughout and helped me guide throughout. One of the most interesting paths that we took is that I did find out that I wasn't very good at math, and I struggled at math. So what he did was he explained to me, maybe we can reconfigure where you need to be, and we'll put you in computer science, and that will fulfill that kind of pathway throughout university. So that was one of the initial stages where I figured out if I'm not good at one thing, it's okay, find another pathway.
That's an interesting topic to say. If you're not good at one thing, find another pathway. So many of us give up before we even try all the possibilities and turn over all the stones.
Correct.
Do you remember what gem Ariel gave you that was super motivative to you and that you still carry with you today?
I wouldn't say there was any one particular thing that he said at any given point in time. I would say what he always provided for me was other mentors. So he always put me in a position or put me in rooms where there was other people that would mentor me based on my life story, my life path, and how I could pay it forward, as they say. So he put me in touch with Dr. Edward Mulvey, who is another one of my mentors. He was in the Department of Law and Psychiatry at the Western Psychiatric Institute and Clinic. And because of my traumatic past, it allowed me to work through my own internal trauma by working in Department of Law and Psychiatry with troubled youths. So it really helped me to kind of work through, and because I had just come out of some of that trauma, Ariel helped me to recognize what that is and help me, if you can help these adolescents with the same problems that you were having, that's going to help you internally as well.
That's a great, unique story. You were able to channel your energy and change your circumstances, then funnel that energy to get a help aid.
Correct.
Shout out to Ariel for giving you that motivation.
My man, yes.
For sure, right now, how did you take that motivation? Like you said, you mentored other youth, right?
Yes.
So what is the thing you say to them to reach them off the bat? Because you're coming from a traumatized position, which may leave us closed off at sometimes. So speak to me on how you're able to break down that wall, or some format that you may use for those who might be listening.
I would say try to find mentors, look in the communities, look outside of the community. Often we only look within a circle. Sometimes we can not even leave a square 6 blocks, right? And we don't understand that there's a big world out there. So just understanding that there's a world beyond the 5 or 6 blocks, whether it be North Philly. It was a big deal when I was growing up to go from North Philly to West Philly or something like that. Or, you're from New York. So going from Brooklyn to the Bronx, it was like going to a whole nother world, right? So understanding that, there's a life beyond the A train or the L, as we call it in Philly, and just being able to move beyond those boundaries, right? And now, the children now have access to that via the internet and social media. It gives them some access, but I would encourage them as well, move beyond that. Try to go to the next state, try to utilize cousins in other places. We always encourage family members to come visit us here in Abu Dhabi, things like that. And you really get a different perspective on life in general.
How important is it to develop yourself and leave where you're from so you can grow?
I think that's the only way you can grow, to be honest, because you're not going to get those perspectives. right? You're only going to be looking at the world through one lens. I mentioned it the other day. I won't say the setting, but someone was talking about history and the history that's being taught at a school. And I said to the person, and I didn't know if they had any knowledge of it, but I said, when you're teaching history, in the immortal words of, Flavor Flav and Public Enemy, make sure that you're teaching history, not his story, right? So make sure we're looking through all of those lenses. Make sure we're looking back at, the famous Puerto Ricans, famous African Americans, famous Native Americans that had those contributions, because we may not get that if we don't leave outside of that circle.
Absolutely, you are right about that. Looking for mentorship outside our circles, stepping outside what we call norm. When you first started to matriculate yourself out of those feelings and emotions, were you goal setting?
I was goal setting, but then there are constraints as well, right? Because we have preconceived notions. So if we come across a person of a certain ethnicity, it's kind of wired in that we have a preconceived notion about that person, and we may not be able to ingest some of the gems that you're dropping on us, right? Or we may not be able to connect because we have to break down that barrier. So we have to move past those stereotypes that we've been taught in order to be able to take that knowledge and that information in, and then that will allow you to grow.
If you can speak right now, certain jewels and gems that you could drop about how to start to manifest a different mentality from where you're from. If someone wanted to take baby steps, what is something that you would lead them into?
Read.
If they're unable to travel,
Right,
unable to
exactly.
have cousins, or they've been looking at someone else's life on the internet, so they feel maybe a little embarrassed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You said read.
Read, 100%. Early in my life, I was blessed with some individuals that gave me some books to read early on when I was going through some difficult times and really struggling. Autobiography of Malcolm X was a big one. Souls of Black Folk, some of these movies, some of these books, Art of War is another one, 48 Laws, right? So I started to understand that, and I'll tell you, one of the most valuable things I did, because I had a lot of time on my hands for whatever reason. When I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, what I did was I wrote out the dictionary to try to improve my vocabulary. So that was one thing that Malcolm X did. So every day, I wrote out a few pages of the dictionary, and when your vocabulary increases, it also opens up new doors, because you can put yourself in circles that you weren't before, and you'll feel comfortable because you have the vocabulary to interact and engage with those individuals that may have a higher education, that may have come from a different place, but you're able to articulate your words, articulate your ideas very well, because you have a solid grasp of the English vocabulary.
I can speak to you right now and say that your math is well, because everything is scientific and mathematical, even words and how we choose to use them.
Correct.
So
yes.
I would say that you probably elevated your math skills, maybe not adding numbers on a paper, but being diverse enough to use the right words, especially that first word in the book dictionary, aardvark, is it?
Yeah. Yeah,
See, Malcolm X inspired me as well. When I saw something like that in the movie, I said, oh man, I'm gonna go try it out. And I remember the first word, aardvark.
Yeah, correct.
So you went from A to Z.
All the way, because I had a lot of time on my hands. And idle time is the devil's workshop. So if we don't use that time effectively, the years start to go away and you start to run out of time. So I really felt like that was one of the most valuable tools I've had, and I still feel like it's one of the most valuable tools, because I find myself, I've went from construction sites to boardrooms, working for global, Fortune 500 companies in the States, coming abroad and working for major entities, public investment funds, these natures government entities within Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. And no matter what room I'm in, I feel comfortable, because I have a grasp of the language, right? We're a bit at a disadvantage in that Americans, we only learn one language, unfortunately. I did speak Spanish fluently for a while, and I lived in Puerto Rico for a while as well, but I haven't spoken it for a while. But for the most part, when you move around the world, 9 times out of 10, most people are speaking English. So if you have a good grasp of the language, it really, really helps.
Speak to me about a time where those dividends of learning that situation paid off for you. Like you learned the dictionary. Now, did that give you an opportunity to start making a vision board?
I would definitely say yes. Yes, because one of the things that we have to do is we have to set out strategic goals. for ourselves, or if we're in a company, if we're going to move ourselves and raise ourselves within a company, or even when we're starting our own company, we have to have a strategic vision, right? We have to have a 3 to 5 year plan. We can't just look at, small milestones. We can always celebrate easy wins, right? Low-hanging fruit, as they say, but you need a 3 to 5 year roadmap for anything that you're going to do if you're going to actually accomplish it. And understanding vocabulary feeds into that, because you're going to understand the difference between small wins and strategic wins, and what that roadmap looks like.
What the margins look like, exactly. If you can give us one goal, apex goal that you achieved, and one apex goal you're currently chasing.
I would say one of my apex goal was transforming and maturing myself and taking my aggression and pushing it into my intellectual power. Okay, so I was very aggressive as a minor, moving forward to the mid-20s, even early 30s. I thought that aggression was the key. And that comes from my environment and, comes from my background, and it was just instilled in me that this is how you solve problems. When I learned to transition and I learned that my intellectual will get me much further than my hands, I think that's when I really started to grow and flourish. And the continuing need to grow via education. So getting another master's degree, now finalizing my PhD. So, at the age of 53, still moving forward and still trying to learn new things. In the last 3 to 4 years, understanding the AI revolution and how to code and Python and things like that. So that would be one. My final goal is to try to be fully self-sustainable. So 10 years ago, my goal was to be a C-suite, right? I want to be COO, I want to be CTO or CEO. Now my goal is to have my own company and to be self-sustainable and rely on myself, rely on my own intellectual capabilities. I don't have to worry about a promotion. I don't have to worry about depending on what someone else thinks of me. If I do this on my own, I start my own company, that gives me the ability to 100% control my own destiny. And that's my next apex goal.
Self-sustainability, but let's go back and go to the first goal that you did achieve. So you rounded yourself out, you laid out these goals, and one by one you knocked them down for the long margin as we spoke.
Yes.
So this time of development, what is like the most important moment to you that kept you going? Like there's a time where we have this crunch and we're in the dark and you have this idle time, but you don't know that anyone is going to pay attention to the efforts you put out. What
Right.
kept you going?
I just paying attention to keeping in the back of my head what my mentors had told me to keep moving forward, not turning to drugs and alcohol. We all go through depression, and understanding, that there are other ways. So I just learned to exercise, lift weights, run, get the dopamine release from that. That keeps you away from the drugs and alcohol as well. So I would say find that outlet. Find whatever you can, get the dopamine released, help yourself feel good without depending on, it could be chocolate, it could be food, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be anything, right? It could be all these negative things. Try to find a positive thing. It could be gardening, right? It could be anything. Anything that makes you happy, that when you feel like you're in that spot and you're getting ready to go further down, find a way to naturally or organically lift yourself out of that rut.
Absolutely. Finding the positive escapism
Yes.
is the only way. I used to suffer from food. I used to be a emotional eater. Now I'm working on myself, and I developed myself to be further along, to not develop on food, but develop on process, develop on scheduling my meals. So now I can't use that as a crutch.
Yes.
So those are the things I help develop. Now I come from the same place as you, where we used our hands for the talking. But in our country, that's it. But everywhere else around the world,
Not it.
it's not it. No one really uses their hands to do anything. They might argue, they may go to a certain point of yelling. So if those of you watching right now in the US, you have to understand there's a different motivation behind your hands than it is the rest of the world. Now we're gonna circle back to the second thing you said about developing yourself. What books are you reading now to reach that apex goal?
Well, I'm not actually, because I'm buried in my PhD. I'm just looking at a lot of white papers, doing a lot of coding. things like that. So if I would say what I was reading now is basically looking at, because I'm building out the platform and building out my company, I'm buried in a lot of government regulations because that's helping me to understand how to develop my platform. So I'm not actually reading any codes per se, but I'm looking at Abu Dhabi Community Planning Development regulations, Department of Municipalities and Transportation regulations, all of these kind of regulations that are helping me understand the full ecosystem of what I'm trying to build for my own company.
So what you said was real interesting because many people don't pay attention. This is the part I want you to pay attention even more. For those who are a certain age, we used to take the VCR out the box, plug it in and put the tape in. For those who are a certain age, you take the PlayStation out the box, plug it in and start to play. Many people do not read the manual so you know all the ins and outs on which it is designed to work. And what you're talking about is reading the manual.
Yes, correct, yeah.
What would you tell somebody right now who needs to read the manual? How important is that for them to progress, to use all the functions on which this device, which was made up when someone's head first and brought to reality to use?
It's a house of cards, right? It's really that simple. If you don't have the framework and you don't have the architecture, when someone peels back one or two layers, you're gonna be stuck. So if you can only talk your way through, many people can talk their way through the first 2 to 4 minutes. But in the tech world, when you peel back a couple of layers, and if you haven't had that architecture built, whether that's mental architecture, whether it's the architecture of a building, whatever environment you're in, if you don't have that solid architecture, you're only going to be able to get so far. It's a house of cards, to be honest. If even a good example is, with people in the investment space, there's a lot of Ponzi schemes, right? And that's a perfect example of someone not building the architecture. They get away with it for a while, and then when someone starts to peel back the layers, it all falls apart because the architecture wasn't there, right? The true investment analysis and the true understanding of the financial frameworks wasn't there. It was a get-rich-quick scheme.
It baffles me about get-rich-quick schemes or Ponzi schemes because you had the money and the opportunity to make it legit.
Correct.
And you still didn't want to make it legit. Mm-hmm. You just saw greed in the money, so you will always see greed in the money.
Right, yes. The other one thing I want to touch on too that's very important is the motivation for what we do. There's a word is it altruistic, right? Are you doing this for the betterment of society, for the betterment of yourself? Are you doing it to try to improve something? To enable Mother Earth to be better, whether it be sustainability or whatever the case may be. So for my company, I didn't start my company thinking of money or thinking of starting a company. I was simply trying to educate myself in this tech space. And because I took such a deep dive in, and it was altruistic, I was trying to better myself, it organically became something that at one event, at some point, I probably will profit off of, but that wasn't my main goal. I think if you enter into something, it should be altruistic, right? We want to think about, I'll tell you a real quick story that really blew my mind when I was in Denmark. So I was in Denmark, I'm a gym rat. I lived there for 3.5 years. I would be at the gym 4:35 a.m. every day. It's always rainy, in Denmark. So I was sitting out in front of the gym. I had finished my workout. I was sitting in my car and I was drinking my protein shake, but the car was idling. So I had a young lady, couldn't have been more than 25, 26, walking her dog. And she came up and knocked on the window. And Denmark's pretty safe for the most part. So I wasn't shook like I would be in the States, right? If I was in the States, I would have hurried up and pulled off, right? So I came down the window and I said, yes, can I help you? And she looked at me with just the face and the look in her eyes. And she said, don't you love her? And I went, well, maybe she is crazy. Maybe I should pull off. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Have a good day. And she said,
that'll make me pull off.
You're idling your car. Don't you love Mother Earth? You're killing her. And then she walked away and said, please don't do that. So when we say do we really care about Mother Earth? Do we really care about other people? Do I really care about you if something happens to you, right? What am I doing that is actually an enablement of that, right? How am I actually passing that forward to other individuals? And that was one thing that really moved because I go to a lot of conferences and there's a lot of people that say this is a green building, I drive an EV car, or whatever the case may be. But this young lady was truly, it was in her heart that I was hurting Mother Earth. Like, it was internalized to her, and it really touched me.
The fact that you had empathy for her is great, because so many people would have followed her to see if she cleaned up her dog's poop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
I think altruistic is a great word for those listening, that it needs to be pure. It needs to have passion and purpose. Here we are. Ariel helped you out. Another professor helped you out.
Dr. Mulvey. Yes.
Dr. Mulvey, excuse
Yes.
me. Dr. Mulvey helped you out. And here you are, learning yourself, litigating your process of your attitude, doing a forecast on your future. You're developing yourself. You're reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, God of War, 48 Laws of Power, all of these things. And you developed yourself into this. Through all of that, what did you sacrifice?
Maybe you sacrifice a bit of time, right? Because you're putting a lot of investment into yourself. I tell you what, probably one of the biggest sacrifices, but it's not a sacrifice, is you have to give up your ego, right? So you have to humble yourself in order to get to a certain point, right? Another quote that I read a long time ago: I'm the smartest person in the room because I know I'm not the smartest person in the room, right? So you have to humble yourself. And that person, that janitor that's mopping the floor, he or she may have went through some life experiences that you could never even imagine, right? Especially our generation, you're a bit younger than me, but our generation, there was a world war before us that a lot of our parents were in, whether that be Vietnam or World War II. They have been through some things that we couldn't even imagine, right? And they're just on the other end of life. And we think that we've been through things. We think that we've learned because of what we've learned. We've kind of got things figured out, but they've done things and learned things that we couldn't even imagine, right? So understanding that everyone has something to offer, humbling yourself when you come into the room, even if there's young people in there. Another thing I talk about as well, as far as with mentorship and when we're looking at companies, is, don't look left and don't look right at the competitors. Look up for the knowledge and then look down to the kids, to the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, because they're going to have a wealth of knowledge, because they're coming up in a coding environment and it's a tech space. So they're going to be looking at things through a much different lens. We can learn as much from them as we can looking up to the elders in society as well.
Yeah, we're Jordan versus, they're Larry. We're Magic versus Larry.
Yes, exactly.
And they're going to be Jordan.
Correct.
And then
100%.
the LeBrons will come in the next generation.
Yes.
Very interesting what you said. There was so many wars going on away from home, and I think our generation had to deal with the war within, when drugs and all these different things
the
came
crack
upon us.
epidemic.
Crack
like
epidemic
this.
was very serious.
Yes.
Where I couldn't walk out my house without stepping on crack vials.
And the privatization of the institutions as well.
Yes.
Right. So when they privatized the jail system,
yes,
that turned it into a whole nother. That turned it into for profit. Right.
For profit, and the way you guys are. Not you guys, but the way we all in the jail system were fed, that is coming from one company, one person throughout the government
100%.
who feeds all of the inmates, and he gets a per diem per inmate.
Yes.
And I don't think you guys, but you know what I mean, us.
Yes.
Whoever's in the jail system or outside the jail system got all of that money.
Yes, correct.
And let's say, for example, for you listening, let's say the government gives this contractor $300 a day for one inmate to eat. They probably spend $15 a day for that inmate to eat.
Yes.
And that's something that we can't even audit, because who's watching the people who watch us?
Yes.
Just a little note for you guys today.
And I do want to acknowledge one more mentor that I had. His name was Stonewall Jackson. He was from New York. He was a close relation to me. He was a phenomenal mentor to me throughout my 20s into my early 30s. He was a father figure to me. I could always go to him. Incredibly intelligent, and still to this day, his energy lives with me. He passed on, God bless the dead. But when I go into my office or when I speak to people, when they ask me how I'm doing, 9 times out of 10, I always say fantastic. I'm having a fantastic day. Stonewall instilled into me that no matter what you're doing, you need to shine on your best day, on your worst days. So even if you're feeling bad, when you're around other people, you need to put forth a certain, you need to make people feel good about themselves in order to feel good. When you're down, you're down. Don't get me wrong. You don't need to hide it. But he always started off with, "How are you? Fantastic." And his work ethic, he worked at the same company for 27 years and rose up within that company, and he was a phenomenal mentor as well.
Interesting you said that. We had a gentleman here by the name of Javon Salters, and he said his mother gave him some great advice as well. His father had just passed, and she said to him, "Son, tears are automatic, but this business doesn't need any emotion, it needs you." So when I hear you say, "I'm doing fantastic," is the elevator pitch for getting away from these emotions and handling the business.
Correct, yes. Because your energy is going to take you everywhere. Correct. People don't recognize how their energy impacts other people. It can have a great impact on people, positive or negative. If people don't want to be in the room with you, things aren't going to move the way that you want them to. Things aren't going to be organic. When you move up into a company, or when you move up into a high-level position, I want people to do things because they want to do them, because we're working together. I don't want to do it because I told them to do it, or because they're ticking a box and trying to hit a KPI. Everyone that works for me, I really want them to feel like they're part of something. I stay away from I, and I always use we. We built this, we hit this KPI. I always use the word we because it's a collaborative effort, and there's too many people that just use the word I and take credit when there's so many enablers behind them doing so much work.
It goes back to what you said, being a lover of the community and the earth, and actually caring about the earth, the world. And sometimes that world is the people around you, your team.
Yes.
So the I has to go. If we are rebounding, if I am rebounding the ball, it is for the development of the team. For those listening right now, could you break down what KPI is for them?
Oh, apologies. So KPI is a key performance indicator. So in the business world, that just means you set a sales target. It could be anything. You just set a target and then you hit that target. So it's just a business term. Apologies for the acronyms.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
How can someone use KPI in their everyday life if they're a student or someone who's matriculating to become a businessman?
Sure. So an easy KPI, your GPA, my KPI is this. Your KPI could be as simple as I'm going to walk 15 minutes a day. And then my KPI 6 months down the road is I'm going to jog 15 minutes a day. Or then, a year down, okay, I'm going to cycle and jog for 30 minutes a day. So you have these KPIs. Those KPIs feed into a roadmap. You have small wins. Use those KPIs to get to where you need to be. Don't take these big, I'm going to lose 63, not 63, but I'm going to lose 13 kg. That's a huge chunk. It's better to say, I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes a day, and I'm going to limit myself to 3 meals a day and 1 snack. Use those small wins to then lead up to, I'm going to drop 13 kg or 13 pounds over the next 6 months. If you put this big task in front of you without these small bite-sized pieces, you probably won't achieve that task.
You probably get off the ride before you even buckle up.
100%, yeah.
Let's dive a little deep here. Let me talk about when you had your lowest moment. Now, I don't just want to know about any moment. I want to know about the time you got up. This is for the people listening right now that are like, oh, man, I'm going through something, and you might be able to help them get through it. Please tell us about your lowest moment, not just your lowest moment, how you got up.
Well, there's been quite a few throughout life, right? But I think, so we can relate to the expat community a bit if we want to do that, right? So I was working in Saudi Arabia. For those expats out there, you get these phenomenal packages, and I'm going back like 10 years. So no need to say how much I made, just say that the package was through the roof, right? So I was making a lot of money. I was, let's say, and I was with a very good company, let's say, right? An offshoot, basically working for the government of Saudi Arabia. So I was, let's say, 4 or 5 months in. So after 4 or 5 months in, I had already brought everyone here. So we were all living here, but I was over in Saudi Arabia. There started to be, I wasn't getting paid. First, the people who worked for me weren't getting paid on time. So we're supposed to get paid once a month. Once a month turned into, for the people that were working for me, once a month turned into every 2 months, or whatever the case may be. Then that turned to me. So I was making this money, but then 1 month went by, no salary. 2 months went by, no salary. 3rd month went by, I didn't get a salary, I got a brown bag full of money from human resources, right? So this is telling you that something's obviously not right.
Something's going down.
So now I'm in Saudi Arabia. I've got all of these expenses that are coming up because everybody is here. And I was to the point where I had no money, basically, because there was no money coming in. And I wasn't allowed to leave Saudi Arabia because for those that you know, back then, you couldn't just leave Saudi Arabia without permission. Even with the US passport, you need an exit visa, right? And I couldn't get an exit visa. So I was basically stuck with no money, right? And I'm in Saudi Arabia. I couldn't get a transfer visa. So I couldn't even move to another company because this company had become blacklisted. And I was basically stuck, right? So I was at a very, very, very low point. And I really just had to sit down and think about what can I do to get myself out of this position? And one of the best things that I did was just stop and think about what are the pathways out. Before I panicked, right? I could try to make my way across the border with a stamp or whatever the case may be, go pay a government consulate official or whatever. But I did what I needed to do and I was able to get out of the country and I was able to secure a job here in UAE. And I did that through multiple contacts. And the only reason I was able to do it is because I stopped and I thought about and I reached out to every contact that I knew so I could find a feasible way to leave the country and I could have a feasible way to then begin earning income again. So I would say because I was I was depressed 100% because when it's not to say that you don't get depressed if you're making a small amount of money, but when you're making a large amount of money, you tend to, your lifestyle changes a bit, and you spend more money than you need to, and things of this nature. And then when that money doesn't come, it just hits a lot harder. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I understand your plight. I also was working in Saudi Arabia at one point. However, they have developed themselves to come up with a system to try to refute some of those things that are going
100%.
on.
I've heard it's much better now.
Much better.
Yes.
They check with you every month to see if the company paid you.
That's beautiful.
They have an online system for you to transfer jobs now.
Very
so
good.
shout out to Saudi Arabia for making the changes. But what you said was very intricate because you have everything you need to survive. No matter what moment you are in, if you stop, first be thankful, pray if you pray, and then think about all the resources you have because they're there. You have them and they're very much in your possession. Thank you for sharing that. Let's shake off some of that energy right now.
Sure.
That was a tough moment, but don't forget, you have what you need to survive. Now let me ask you this. I have a 3-part question. What was abusive to you that you called love as a child? Let me give you an example. Someone used to give me soda for breakfast every day. Oh, I love soda, but it's abusive to my health.
Okay.
And that type of way. I know the word abuse might throw some people in different directions, but I want you to say something that you was loving, but it found out later on, this is not good for me.
It may sound a little off, but I think I had a love for violence.
Oh, hey.
To be honest, it was taught to me that violence was a good thing, and that was one way that I didn't necessarily. I ingested all of that, right, and it became part of my character. And I saw it as a way to fit in, right? So if I want these group of guys, or if I want this girl to like me, I'm going to go do something violent to impress them, because I think that's how I'm going to get their love and adoration. And I think that's a very negative cycle that a lot of people are in. And again, that goes to that shift. You will find that your intellectual capabilities will impress people a lot more than anything you could ever do being violent. Mike Tyson is an excellent example of that. If you ever see him now, he is through the roof,
He's
introspective.
He's a genius.
Incredibly, his intellectual and the way that he views the world now, and the people that love him now, or he'll tell you the people that loved him way back when he was violent, that wasn't real love, right?
His perspective is very unique and grandiose. You never know what his perspective is going to be at the time, but it's always very important to listen to what he has to say and dissect it correctly. When did you recognize that violence was your go-to love language?
Early. I would say 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that range. It was about the time, coming into, let's say, 7th, 8th grade. That's about the time when people will start to recruit you into gangs. That's about the time when the drugs start to seep in a bit, right? The girls start to like you, and you're in the streets a bit more. So I would say it was about that time, and I think we had a conversation about this before. I'm multiracial, so it's hard for me to fit in. Being African American, raised Puerto Rican, also Italian. So I was always trying to figure out how to fit in and where to fit in.
It was good food at his house. It was good food at his house.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like that understanding of which kind of gang do I join, or who's going to accept me the quickest. And I always thought that I had to be the most violent in order for that adoration, in order for me to get the prettiest girl, in order for me to have these guys like me. Violence was my go-to, and I would say it was about that age, 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in there, 11, 12 years old, and it just spiraled out of control for many, many, many years. And then it kind of got worse when I was in my late 20s. I was an engineer. I was working for a great company at the time, but in the evenings I was a bouncer because I still loved violence, right? And then, I was a bouncer, and then I ended up, being a head bouncer, and then I bought a nightclub, so that it continued. That cycle continued because that put me in that space all day. I was using my mind as an engineer, doing these great things in this company, and then at night, I'm wrestling with all these big guys, and I'm fighting.
You're recharging.
Yeah, basically, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting my dopamine, and I'm getting that satisfaction from that. So it took a long time to get that fully out of my system, even though when it was in that space as a bouncer, it's accepted, right? And the better you are at it, the more adulation you get, right? Then you move up as a bouncer. Then you go from I went from a little corner bar with 50 or 60 people to then bouncing at a nightclub which had 500, 600 people in it. And then it moved up to a bigger nightclub with capacity 2,000, 3,000. Then I was the head bouncer there. It wasn't because I was all that smart. It was because I was incredibly violent, and I was willing to approach, no matter who it was. I was never a big guy, but I was willing to approach the biggest guy that was in there fighting and get him out of the club.
You find yourself doing strange things when you want to live in that essence. You start training, boxing, MMA to have one-up-on technique
100%, yeah.
and individuals.
Yep.
And then there's also the outlier, the person who's the dog whisperer in your ear. They know you're violent.
Yes.
They're not violent, but they want to be in control.
Yes.
Those are the people you also have to watch out for, because your aura, when you come in the room, there are people who want to control what you have in you.
100%, yes.
And you have to be careful. I'm sure some people probably led you into wrong situations,
yes.
or situations where they would never bust a grape in a fruit fight, but they'll send you because, Doli's my guy.
Right.
I'm going to
They
send him
manipulate
over.
you.
Yeah. They go, hey, man, what'd you say? Hey, man, hey.
Yeah. 100%.
Hey, man, take care of this for me.
Yes.
You can fight him. He loves this.
100%.
And I think that's the most dangerous thing, that people who continue to spread that hate.
I think that an example of that is Suge and Tupac, because Tupac was a beautiful soul, right? But he was manipulated to the point where he was put in a different space when he got around those cats from out on the West Coast.
Let's dive into that real quick. Do you think he was manipulated, or do you think his thespian kicked in and he got lost in the role, sort of like the Joker did in Dark Knight?
That's a good analogy. Yeah, I think that the energy was always there because of his mother and the Black Panthers, right?
Yes.
So the energy was always there.
The foundation.
The foundation was there. It was just how it was channeled, right? So if it was fully channeled through his music, or a portion of the Black Panthers, or if he was able to channel it in that way, because he was very poetic. His songs were all over the place, right? Like Dear Mama, right? So those songs were he had a very emotional, he had multiple aspects of them, right?
He had access to all of those memories.
Exactly, and he wasn't just like a thug or whatever the case may be, but when he got around those individuals, they manipulated him, and that ended up taking over kind of all of those and putting a dark cloud over all of these wonderful aspects of a wonderful person and a wonderful soul that he was.
Yeah, he became well-rounded, but he also became a fool amongst people who didn't know what fools do.
And he wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
right? He was from the East Coast. He wasn't from the West. He wanted to fit in with that West Coast vibe or whatever that is. Nothing against the West Coast.
No.
Have love for y'all.
No,
but
not at all.
Right, it's a different vibe, right? So he was trying to fit into a different vibe when he went over there as well.
He took the PlayStation out the box and plugged it in and didn't read the manual. There's
100%.
different rules
Right.
on the West Coast than it is on the East Coast.
Correct.
The West Coast has a culture that's way more developed, where it's more family-based. This is centuries of stuff going on, decades,
Yes.
decades of these things going on. And to understand that in totality, when you're just the golden boy, you don't really know the real ins and outs of something.
Yes.
You didn't do the KPI.
Yeah, they didn't put in the work.
He didn't put in the work.
Yeah.
He didn't do the foundation broke down before he did
Yeah.
the full analysis.
And another good example of that is like a Kendrick Lamar or like a Nas.
Yes.
They'll tell you in a minute, they were never a thug, they were never a gangster, they were never in the streets like that. When they were 15, 16, 17 years old, they were in the studio. They had those people around them, but they didn't try to fake what they were doing. They were poets. And that's what their focus was on, being poets and telling the streets of the stories without living the stories themselves, I guess you could say.
The most interesting thing that I can get from that analysis is that we are all in those rural areas of poverty. Everyone has this unique gift, but our social learning theory from the war that was put upon us, it develops in different ways. There's always someone in the crew that's very good at math. There's always someone in the one who do computers well. There's always someone in the crew who can calculate and do different things that through honor systems and lead.
Mm-hmm.
And those things do not get developed. So when we see a Kendrick Lamar or when we see any of those gentlemen move forward like a Nas, that gift was always there. But that surrounding, like we talked about leaving your environment, was the toxicness they had to shake off.
Mm-hmm.
In the best, humblest way I can say this, and no disrespect, but do you think the character of Tupac was a Ponzi scheme?
In a sense, yes. Yeah, in a sense, yes, because the foundation wasn't there, and he was just a phenomenal person, right? And he just got taken advantage of to a certain point. So yeah, I would agree with that. I was trying to think if there was any other major examples of that, of people that we lost, or some people that we might have lost to drugs and addiction or whatever the case may be. But I'm sure there's many. We've all known people that were phenomenal, and had they been put in the right position.
Right.
I've known many a hustler in the street that if you took them out of that and you put them and gave them their own company, and that company was building bricks or building buildings, they would be phenomenal at that.
Yeah.
But they just weren't given that opportunity because the mindset was there, so they just went with excelled with what that was.
They took what they had and still made it out of merchandise.
Correct, yes.
When did you accept that violence was your thing to change it? Like when that moment you accept, that's the third part of the question.
Like I said, probably like the late 20s,
Late
something
20s,
like that.
correct. Excuse me.
Right, so when I came abroad about 16, 17 years ago, and when I came abroad, it didn't hit. It wasn't gonna work. Like I understood it wasn't gonna work like immediately. The first place that I went was over to Afghanistan.
Okay.
And then from Afghanistan to Saudi Arabia, and then different places after that. But I found out immediately that this doesn't work, right? My hands aren't going to be important here.
Yes.
There's other things. People are harnessing their intellectual capabilities on a whole nother level.
Absolutely.
And that's where I need to be. So I had to reconfigure, rewire, figure out what I can do, because the intellectual was always there. And I've always had people tell me, one of the things people always tell me, you're too smart for your own good, right? So I had to learn how to, and then there was a period of time as well where I was an intellectual bully. So there was a transition, and that's being honest. There was a transition where I went from being this physical alpha male to still being that, but intellectually, and still feeling like I had to prove myself. So there was a transition of 1, maybe 2, 3 years where then I had to come down and be humble myself as well, and understand I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I don't need to prove to anybody. I don't need to walk into a room and say, this is what my master's degree is in, or this is where I've been, or this is what I've done. Just let it be organic, right? Let it come out in a conversation or whatever the case may be. So to say that I just flipped the switch, I would be lying 100%. There was definitely a transition period there.
You were extreme fact checker.
Yes.
Like, what did he say? Just
Yeah,
sit there like,
exactly.
you know that's not correct, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
You know,
yeah.
those 2 eggs goes in that recipe.
Correct. 100%. Yes.
But hey, that could be enlightening. That could be a-hole-ish. It
Yep.
could be fun. It could be somebody can use that. Hey man, what's the real answer? And you
Yep.
tell them, but it also could embarrass others.
Because
So
it comes as arrogance, right? There's that fine line between
Arrogance
arrogance
and
and confidence. Right?
Correct.
There's a fine line
absolutely.
there. And I think that now people know 100%. One of the biggest compliments that I get right now is that usually people will say, you seem very smart, but you're incredibly humble. And for me, that means that I'm positioning myself and the energy I'm putting off is correct. Because I don't need to brag and I don't need to be arrogant about what I know and what I've done and the degrees that I have, but it comes across.
Right.
But I'm still humble about it as well, humble enough to not ever have to be condescending to other people.
Correct.
Because they don't have the degree, because they don't have this, or because they haven't been to the places that I've been, doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean, especially when if you think about when we left the States or when we go somewhere, that blue passport means a lot, right?
Yes.
When you're moving from place to place. If you
Yes.
think about what people from Palestine had to do to get to Abu Dhabi
Yes.
versus what we did when we came to Abu Dhabi.
We just came.
We just came. What the trials and tribulations that they had to go through, or the Eastern Bloc when people were coming out of Ukraine or wherever, what they had to go through is nothing compared to a college degree to me. I mean, the amount of patience and
18 months waiting list.
Yeah, just
Sending
everything.
your bank records, sending your medical records.
Yes, it's incredible. So don't ever think because that person doesn't have that degree, they've gone through a life degree, which to me is much more valuable than sitting in a university.
That is big time, a life degree.
Yeah.
Don't forget to take that with you. Some people have life degrees, and you need to respect that. Their hardships or their challenges that they overcame gave them a degree that you can never even quantify. So sit and talk to those people with great prestige. Speaking of life
Yep.
degrees, will there ever be a community where we teach financial literacy, how to change a tire? We take our old retired people, teachers, and brought them in the neighborhood for our kids to self-develop outside of school, outside of church, outside of these things. Will we ever have something like that in the Black and brown communities?
Tell you what, we used to have the Boys and Girls Club, right? That's close, right?
Yeah.
The Boys and Girls Club. I mean, you had mentors there. I don't even know if they exist in the States, to be honest, anymore.
I think they do, but they might be used differently.
Okay.
Might be used as babysitting tools
Yeah, true.
with
But
recreational use.
I do remember, these kind of places because, like, when I was learning how to break dance, that happened out in front of the boys' club. It was kind of a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Because when the gangs were coming together, and at that time, and remember, I'm a bit older, so I'm
Yeah.
53, right?
Yeah.
So I came up in hip hop, so I grew up with hip hop,
Yeah.
right? So I remember life before hip hop. Not very much. I was maybe 8 or 9, when Cool Herc and these cats came out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that was the hip hop and the breakdancing in that era was kind of a good release to get the gangs to calm down and get you into a positive space, right? Because
Right.
it was usually, instead of fighting, people could breakdance, and kind of the boys or girls clubs or the community parks. These were the kind of things that brought people together. And you're from New
Absolutely.
York, right? And
Absolutely.
you have the basketball tournaments,
Right.
that they have up
The
there,
parks,
the
the
Ruckers.
African drums on the
Yeah,
weekends.
exactly. So,
Yes.
so there are these, I think those environments exist, and whether we leverage them to have a financial seminar there as well. Like, with the space is there, and then you've got to somehow get people to engage as well.
I don't even think we partake in those things anymore, especially with the internet and online gaming and these different
Yeah,
things.
it's
I think
true.
people conjugate differently in terms of atmosphere and mentality. Physically,
Mhm.
people don't come together unless it's something like a concert, or some people do poetry or those things, or go to school.
Mhm.
But it's never a true come together to enjoy the arts as much. It's more separated towards the internet or people going viral, going live, and enjoying community differently. And I think that hurts us in many ways.
Yeah, it does. Social media, I won't say who I used to work for, but I used to work for a large social media company as well. but the whole time I never joined their platform because I just don't. It's not my space. It's not the space that I like to be in. I don't.
And it wasn't my space.
Right? Yeah, no, it wasn't my space. Yeah. But it seems like the vitriol and just the negativity that comes across to some because, you know, you have keyboard ninjas, right? They're anonymous, right? It's not like.
Oh yeah. Those guys be some of the funniest guys on the internet.
Yeah.
But they're dangerous.
They're very, very dangerous. And it's not to say that I'm tenderhearted or that I can't take criticism, but why allow that negativity to come in, right?
And especially when there's no character development to take it. I think
Right.
when we were growing up, we came out to the tune of insults and defended ourselves and built up a thicker skin.
Yes.
Today, we kind of shield our children from those atrocities and verbal abuse
Right.
and try to develop something different. So when they run into it, I can't say that we didn't do a job as parents, but I can say that we protected them from a level of it. And they should never even see it as much from the life that we're designing for them.
Yeah,
I got a
100%.
few more bullet questions for you. Have a
Sure.
little fun and we're gonna get up out of here.
Sure.
So if they were making awards, you have to choose one of these. If they were making awards, would you like to be Father of the Year or Man
Father
of
of
the
the
Year?
Year.
Tell me why.
Because it's all about our legacy. Man of the Year might have to do with my accomplishments. It might be related to monetary accomplishments or something that I did. But ultimately, whatever I did is going to be gone in 5-10 years. The legacy that I leave and what my children get from me, that lives on, right? And their accomplishments, I live through their accomplishments. So to me, there would be no comparison between the two. Even if you were Man of the Year, if your kids don't like you, what good is it?
Ooh.
Right? What good is it? And I'm not going to say any names. There's some very famous people in the space right now that are very, very wealthy that don't get along with their kids. And you cannot tell me that if you're a billionaire, but you can't sit down and talk to your daughter or your son, and you can't say to your son, let's go to the movies, let's go to the park, let's go to the zoo. If you can't do that with your child, all the money in the world is not going to make you a happy person.
It's a different cold world they're playing in, different cold heart. That person probably won't even look after you after you get old. So you have to do things because you know your benefits of the things you did, your, what can we say, dividends did not come in.
ROI.
Yeah,
return on investment, right? What's your return on investment? The
Yeah,
best return on investment is your children loving you, looking after you when you get older, your children. Another big part of that is, with daughters, are they going to look to a man that's like you, right? Or are they going to be out in a different space? So when they get to the dating age, I don't know what that is around these times in this space, but say 17, 18, 19, and they start to bring these young men home. Are those young men going to be a reflection of what they see in their father? And if the type of man that they bring home is not a good person, then that's something that you need to reflect on yourself, right?
The worst thing you want is your daughter to bring home a Build-A-Bear, where she's going after the quality she thinks should be in a man when she speaks what a man should be.
Yes.
She's always going to run into a pretender.
Yep.
Because he's going to be who you need him to be.
Yes.
Until he achieves the ultimate goal,
Yes.
or sits there underneath your umbrella if he can.
Yes.
Moving forward, would you rather have a great woman or a great wife? You have to choose one.
Great wife.
Explain.
A woman is just in passing, I think, right? I don't even know how we define what a great woman would be. A great wife encompasses so many things. It's a partner. It's someone who's going to support you through thick and thin. It's someone who's going to love you. It's someone who's going to be, when you're down financially, they're going to support you financially and not think twice about it. It's someone who knows when you're in a low place, how to bring you out of that low place. And I think only a wife and time is going to get you to that place. They finish your sentences, you finish their sentences, these kind of things. It comes in time. And a great woman, I don't know, here for a short time, not a long time. Here for a good time, not a long time. There's no investment in the relationship. So 100% a great wife.
You said in time is very key, and I thank you for that answer. No judgments. I just wanted to hear your answer.
Yes.
What is renowned about you?
In my eyes or in other eyes, I guess would be the way to say it. So what do I value most about myself?
Yeah, what is renowned about you?
I think at this point it's empathy, compassion. I think that's one of my most valuable, what makes renowned. I mean, what would I think highlight? What would I highlight about myself?
The full development.
Compassion and empathy. And I think if you don't have empathy and compassion for others, you're gonna fall short.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think you're gonna fall short in life, you're gonna fall short in business. You may become an executive, you may build a good business, but I don't think the longevity will be there.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
I can see the development in your eyes. I can see that. You mean that, totally. I came up with something called operating at 100%. And what I mean by that is I took purpose, health, knowledge, confidence, and money. Again, that's purpose, health, knowledge, confidence, and money. I gave them each 20% of a KPI.
Okay.
For a weekly judge, where you take 20% of each one on a daily basis and average this out weekly, monthly, or yearly to see how close to 100% are you operating out of.
Okay.
So Doli, in the last 24 hours,
Okay.
how much of 100% you operating at? Let's start with purpose, out of 20%.
So purpose, I would say I was operating 15, 16%. I woke up very early at 4 a.m. and I devoted that time to doing some development on my platform, just taking a look at my 3 to 5 year goals and trying to get my strategy together. And that's part of my purpose now, to be self-sustainable. So I would say purpose, I scored pretty high.
Okay, health. Did you work out today? Ate well?
Health.
Mental health?
Health. So I would say mental health suffered a bit because I sat and worked on my computer and did that work for about an hour and a half. Normally, I should be getting up, getting my protein juice together and going out to cycle, and then cycling and going straight to the gym. I should be working on the computer after the dopamine release. That's when it comes best. Unfortunately, there's a rabbit hole that once I popped open the computer, time went, right? So
Right.
I would say from a health perspective, I still drank my protein juice, right? So I have a juicer, I have beet, carrot, ginger, apple,
So good.
just have that every morning. So I did drink that. However, I only ended up cycling for 15 minutes and I didn't go to the gym.
So out of 20%, what do you give yourself today?
Probably like a 10, 12% because
So
I
we're
bypassed
at
it.
28%. Let's go 16 and 12.
Okay.
28%. Health, confidence. No, let's go knowledge next. Did you read a little bit, learn a little bit, shake it up?
Yes, definitely learn, because when I'm doing my coding, I'm learning and I'm solving problems. So I was thinking about the next iteration and what I need to integrate into my platform.
Yes.
And I was reviewing the feedback. So I had met with multiple stakeholders, SMEs are subject matter experts. So I met with some SMEs this week, right? And they gave me some feedback on some of the work that I was doing, and I had jotted everything down. And then I kind of brought all that together, and that's kind of what I was working on this morning. So from that aspect, I was hitting.
So out of 20%, what do you
I would say 19.
19.
Yeah, I was
so
hitting. Yeah.
38, 47%.
Okay.
So we're at 47%. Let's do confidence. Did you do anything? Were you afraid? Did you have fear? Or did you do it strong with confidence out of 20%?
I would say confidence wasn't too high when I started. Confidence still isn't too high as far as the iteration that I'm working on now.
Yes.
The confidence won't come till I finish the POC.
Yes.
Sorry for the acronym again, that's proof of concept.
Proof of concept.
So until I run that iteration and what I've done, the confidence won't come. But I think that's powerful as well, because if I did my iteration and I did my coding and I thought I solved the problem and I didn't have anyone else audit against what I did and what their expectations were, then I would be a one-man show. That doesn't work, right? So I need other people to critique what I did to make sure that I've hit all those gaps from the feedback, and that feedback loop remains circular. So the confidence won't come until
You achieve some goals.
I achieve some goals.
So out of 20%?
I would say 13, 14%.
So let's
Yeah.
do what? At 70%?
Yeah.
57, 13%, 70. Okay, now money. Did you save, invest, lose, spend? How did that go for you out of 20%?
Did I spend any money today?
Did you invest any money today? Did you make any money today?
Okay, so let's say I invested money today. So every weekend I go to the co-op. So the co-op for...
Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry about the things in my eyes.
No, that's okay. So the co-op is in here in the Middle East, or at least in Abu Dhabi. The co-op is where your local farmers sell their fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
So I prefer to go to the co-op as opposed to going to a proper supermarket. So you go to the co-op. So every week I invest several hundred dirham, let's say 100 US, give or take, on fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables. So I'm investing in my health, because then when I want a snack, I have peaches, I have oranges, I have carrots, instead of gummy bears or pizza or these kind of things, right?
Shawarmas.
So I'm making that investment because I'm making sure that I have something to go to that's healthy.
Yes.
So to me, I'm investing in my health.
Out of 20% in
I'm
money?
going to give that a 20 because that investment pays off.
Okay,
pays
listen,
dividends.
you operate at 90%.
Yeah.
And I love to hear that. I wrote a book about it. So operating at 100% is going to be hitting your shelves and on your online pretty soon. It'll help you develop yourself to where you're going and give yourself a KPI. And what is KPI, sir?
Key performance indicators.
Thank you, sir. You are now a part of the Silhouette Boys Club. It is people like you that come out the shadows to help people like us shine. Now, Doli, before you go, we would love to hear a referral for the show. Anyone you would love for me to interview or give us your feedback today?
There's a young lady that's on the rise here in UAE.
Really?
Coming out of university. So I will pass on her information to you. She interviewed me a few months ago. Very articulate, very bright young lady who's up in university up in Dubai now. So I will pass that information on, and I think she would be value added to this platform as well.
Young lady, we will get your name off camera and we will make it happen. Anything you want to say to the listeners, the things you got going on?
No, just thank everyone for your time. I hope there was some things that you can take away from my life experiences. The last thing I would share is we've all been through trauma. I've been through a ton of trauma in my life, and the only way you're going to get through it is to verbalize it, get it out, go to counseling, talk to other people. Don't try to rationalize it. Don't think that it happened to you because you did something, right? You did something to deserve it. It's not the case. And that's something that I think that within our community as well, that's something that we need to work through. Work through that early life trauma, get through that, and it'll take such a cloud from over the top of your head, and it'll really let us blossom, and that intellectual garden will flourish 100%.
Shout out to Ariel and Dr. Mo.
Yeah, Dr. Movi.
Dr. Movi.
Ariel and Stonewall.
And rest in peace to Stonewall Jackson.
God bless the dead.
Yes, for sure. Hey, this is Sheen One at SOULutions For Men. Head to SOULutions the Network if you want to tap in and see some more episodes. Thank you for tuning in today. Doli, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Hey, peace and blessings. Before we go, you're going to hear a quote from Dr. Miles Monroe. Peace and blessings.